I also used to be a DJ at a strip club, and I would see this dynamic where women would say they really liked certain aspects of from a man, and then you would see what they'd actually do, and it was totally different. Things that make that are good guy ideals and bad guy ideals, or like what we say in MOA, things that build comfort and things that build attraction. Women, when you ask them questions about what they find, what they like about men, they will always describe comfort qualities. He's good with his family. He likes animals. He's really kind to me. But then when you see who they end up, going over to his house in the middle of the night just for sex, he's tall, good looking, tattoos, he's a bad boy, you know what I'm saying? I used to listen to girls when they tell me I'm dating a narcissist, and then I meet the guys and I'm like, this guy's not a narcissist, he just has boundaries. Like, it's the first time you dealt with a guy who told you no. And so you find out that you ask women what they're attracted to, and they describe what they're comfortable with. And so I learned that from being a DJ at a strip club, from being a sub promoter, from all the different stuff I did.
Often it's that dude that has a good career, that has only dated 2 or 3 girls in his whole lifetime, that has not been on a ton of dates, that might not be the most exciting or fun for that girl to go out with. Is that part of the reason you said?
Isn't it funny? Like, if women looked at it rationally, they would marry the boring cardiologist, and they would be happier than and have children that were looked after and have a very low drama, extremely happy life. But they don't. They end up wanting to fuck Brock the bartender who lives in La Jolla and sleeps on motherfuckers' couches, who's got 2 fucking inked up arms and takes roids every summer, that she's fucking that guy, and then just wonders, shocked at some point 6 months down the line when he cheated on her. Oh my God, I didn't think that was gonna happen.
And why is that though? Why do girls prefer that?
Yeah, so it has to do with survival characteristics of your ancestors 50,000 years ago. It has to do with evolutionary psychology. What's happened is that these cues for what were alpha men back 50,000 years ago, which would be the ability to conduct violence on her behalf, so broad shoulders, 6-pack abs, a V-shaped torso, height, except masculine looking face, jawline, maybe some scars, facial hair, etc., a deep voice, networking, like a surrounding or whatever. Those things, women see those. Like, the reality is the baddest motherfuckers in the world right now are 5'9" MMA fighters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're recon Marines and Navy SEALs, and none of them are 6 feet tall. The reality of the situation is the baddest men in the world, the best fighters look like that. But she's still going from the male stripper from Thunder from Down Under, because he has this look that her ancestors saw as being, this is the guy who can protect me, who can provide the most for me. There's another thing, it's called sexy sons hypothesis from evolutionary biology, which is the concept that if a woman sees a man and sees other women looking at that man has some gene, some genetic expression that she wants in her children, so that her children can have more children and she can pass on her genetics. So because of that, women see positive cues, handsome face and tall and whatever, and they see those aspects and they pass them down. But also, the difference between men and women is women can also see humor. Women can also see the ability to network. Women can also see money. Money is just an allegory for competency. There is no money in the ancestral period, but the most competent man, the most competent hunter, the most competent builder. Yes, money is an allegory for competency. You and I would have killed a gazelle, brought it back on a spit, and brought it back, in the tribe who's starving would have been cheering us on when they walked in. Now we just pull up in a Ferrari. It's the same effect. For us, the dopamine levels are the same, and for our tribe, the dopamine levels are the same. It's just this. It's a similar expression. It's just we're not cave people anymore, and we have different things that where we can show, competency. Women are at least 2 to 1, but more likely more than that, interested in a man's ability to garner resources than men are for a woman's ability to garner resources. We just don't care if she works at McDonald's. If she's a 10 and works at McDonald's, we'll just marry her just the same. We don't care.
Yeah, and I think right now in today's climate, with all the feminism that's going on, this whole movement. I feel 2 things. One, it's never been harder to be a guy. We're seeing a lot of guys, and I've heard you say this before, that some crazy stat, 20-something% of all men go through an entire year and never get laid. Oh, no. What's that number?
It's 33. So 33% of men under the age of 30 have 0 sexual partners
crazy
in a year. It is. You live it in San Diego. Yeah, it would be crazy. But you have to think about the dude who lives in Waco. You know what I'm saying? In his mom's house. Yeah. So 33% of men, 75% of men are I believe, overweight. It may be. I've heard different reports, anywhere from 40% to 70% of men overweight. Women have it worse when it comes to obesity.
But traditionally, men would go out and make the money.
Yeah.
And the woman would stay at home, cook and clean, and that sort of thing, have more of a domesticated role.
Yeah.
But because now women are going out and they're becoming attorneys, doctors, and all this sort of stuff, men are not needed in that sense. And that's why I feel like it's never been harder to become to be a man. However, on the flip side, I feel like for someone like myself, for a guy that's out there going after the dreams and really pushing the pedal, it's never been easier because there's not a lot of competition of other guys going out and doing it.
So
these guys are soft right now.
We're going to call this like status poverty.
Okay.
Like, so there's you know how you have a poverty line with income. There's a poverty line when it comes to status. Unfortunately for men, though, 80% of men are below the status poverty line. They really are. If you look on Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge, the data shows that 80% of men on those apps are deemed unattractive. In general, women find 80% of men to be physically unattractive, and the top 20%. So when you think about it, we would look at a 5 and see a 5. Although if we're in La Jolla or if we're living in San Diego, when we see a 5, we think she's a 3 because we're used to hotter women because we live in San Diego or we live in Las Vegas. So a girl who's a 9 in Dallas or not 9 in Waco, Texas, she comes to Las Vegas and she's a good 6. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So there's a little bit of inflation when it comes to us, but for women, it's bonkers. A guy who's an 8 is a 5 to them.
Yes.
A guy who's a 9 is a 7 to them. And the only 10 is Drake and Chris Hemsworth. There are no other 10s. There's so few 10s that exist.
What makes a guy a 9 or 10 for a woman?
So it's a contextual thing. So when we're talking about Chris Hemsworth in a vacuum, she doesn't know Chris Hemsworth. She just looks at him on camera and says he's physically attractive. For us, what happens is you sit there and you get a mansion that you're trying to flip, like you're trying to sell whatever real estate. You got some partners trying to flip this mansion. So you throw a party at this mansion and you get a bunch of people there, and then every girl knows there that like the property's under your name and you're throwing the party. You are now contextually a 10 in that environment because compared to all the other males there, you're higher status than they are. So it's one of these situations where they deem most men to be unattractive, but they're fucking someone.
So level of success and money has a lot to do with the attractiveness.
Yeah. So for there's a great book on this. It's called Why Women Have Sex by Cindy Meston and David Buss. And for men, there's like 4 reasons why they have sex with women. For women, there's 237 reasons why women have sex with men. So we have this incredible ability to have a few things wrong with us and still do fantastic with women. I.e., I have a client who's 5'1", who's just surrounded by tons of beautiful women all the time because of his social alignments and because of the pre-selection that he creates. Women are competing for his attention, and the other women like don't really care what he looks like. They just see other women competing, so they start competing. Men, we don't do this. If I see dudes competing for a woman's attention, she's not hotter to me. She's actually, in some cases, less attractive. You see what I'm saying? So like, it's very different. Like the male and female psychology when it comes to attraction is in some cases opposite of one another. So that's where that whole thing happens. But like, yeah, I mean, it's you admitting as a society that we're completely different. That's what people need to do. Are we going to go back to a traditional level? No, things are not going to, the Overton window is not going to swing back to the right where women are all back in the kitchen.
But it will swing a little bit, right?
I don't know if it ever will. Like,
you don't think so?
To be fair, I think what happens is a few group of men who like me and the guys in my program, we listen to all the stuff that they talk about in the Barbie movie or on The View. And we're just like, that's cute that you guys are saying that. We're going to choose to not listen. We're not going to protest you. We're just not going to listen. Instead, I'm going to have multiple dates lined up when I go out. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to use pre-selection to my advantage. I'm going to show access to scarce resources, relevancy, and competency on my social media. It's cute that
social media is huge.
Yeah, it's cute that you guys think this, in the Barbie movie or whatever. Like, it's cute that you guys that eat, pray, love. You guys think divorce is like some sort of like award. It's to be celebrated. Okay, that's fine. Believe whatever you need to believe. I'm going to like not live like Post Malone, Machine Gun Kelly, and Tekashi 6ix9ine. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to actually be a little bit more masculine. I'm going to be the kind of guy. A woman's going to see me and be like, this is a man that would protect me and my family. I'm very attracted to. I'm gonna live in that world just for a little while. Let me see what happens. And I do that. And of course, I have I'm 46 years old. I have a 21-year-old goddess for a girlfriend who brings women home to me. I swear to God, like I could not make this up. If you go back 20 years, my life could not possibly be any better when it comes to dating and relationships. And the reason why is because I don't sit there and I don't make red pill content to like fight feminism. I have a ton of friends who are feminists. I'm just like, that's really cute that you think that. You're wrong. Sorry, you're wrong. But I'm just not gonna. I just decide to live my life as a masculine man and ignore that noise, that chaff that people are trying to send my way. And when you do so, I think your point previously was, while that group at the top that has, so remember we talked about status poverty, most guys are below the poverty line. I'd say 84% of men are below the status poverty line.
Which is considered how much money a year?
It doesn't even matter. So you could get, so let's say if you're 5'1", then it's a higher number. But if you're 6'3" and handsome, it's a lower number of how much money. You know what I'm saying? 6'3" and handsome, $60,000 a year. If you're 5'1", it might be $500,000 a year.
But that's the beauty about being a guy, right? So if
you could be a famous actor, you could be a famous DJ.
If you take a woman on a scale of 1 to 10 physically, let's say she's a 2 or 3, no matter how much she makes and whatever she does, it's going to be very challenging for her to pull
That's absolutely right.
high level man.
Correct.
But as a man, you could be 5'3", 5'4", and a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10 and become Jeff Bezos and have all the high quality options that you could ever dream of.
It's not just money also. Like I'm gonna just shout out Graham Stephan. Graham Stephan is not a very tall individual. Graham Stephan's girlfriend is very attractive. Why is that? Because Graham has tons of status and he's very charismatic. He speaks incredibly intelligently. He's super confident and he probably has some money too. But Graham is a terrific example of a guy who's like not super tall, who has I know a ton of other dudes. I have a buddy of mine, Joel Alvarez, the Black Tape Project. Have you ever seen that where they put the girls in electrical tape and they don't wear any clothes, but they're just wearing tape? Joel is not super tall. Joel is like 5'8", 5'7". Joel, every girl that he's dated is like Bilzerian Playboy level qualities, 10 out of 10 hot. And the reason why is because he's incredibly competent at what he does. He does not flash any money whatsoever. For men, we have so many there's so many plays we can run. We can run the screen pass. We can run the play action, the double move. There's so many plays we can run to score the touchdown. Whereas women, they just kind of got to run the ball up the middle. And if they can't do it, then it doesn't really work for them. And because of that, when women come to that realization and they're 32, 35, and they did a little bit of or they were hooking for a while, or they had a little slutty time in their 20s and maybe had a kid when they were 22 or whatever. Once they come to the realization that men don't treat you the same when you're 35 and you put on some weight, then they get angry and they want their comeuppance. There's like, no, you guys, I went and got my master's degree. I turned my life around. I had an epiphany. Where's my man? And all the good men are like talking to 23-year-olds, and women are very angry about this. And then they're like again, one of the biggest issues I have is when a woman wants to date an older man, which most women do, it is considered a preference, a healthy preference. When a man wants to date a younger woman, he is a creep. That is a double standard that a lot of people have that I think is absurd.